Assalamualaikum. We are from Group 5 and we are presenting the subtopic of measuring economic and social impact of organizational activities. But first, meet our group members. Our group consists of 4 members which are Muhammad Hazim, Muhammad Firdaus, Zul Khaidir and me myself, Muhammad Hakim. But first, let us ask the question, what is economic impact? Well, economic impact occurs anytime money changes hands from consumer to businesses or even business to businesses. And as we all know that the economy includes all activities in a country concerned with the manufacturing, distribution, and the use of goods and services. Hence, these economic impacts have affected businesses in more ways than one. Thus, economic impact is the impact of an organization's activity on the economy's infrastructure and its financial relationship with the government. Now, I will explain the type of economic impact. There are 3 types of economic impact. Firstly is the direct impact. Direct economic impact will be the employment and income generated from a project or activity in the economy. To illustrate, a change in the cost of supply from the medical center would directly impact health centers' operations, such as hospitals, as the purchase is a direct economic impact. Next is indirect impact. It is where it includes the employment and income generated through secondary sources. An example of an indirect impact is where a medical supply store would purchase papers from an office supply store to print out receipts and hire delivery service to deliver medical equipment. And lastly is induced impact, where it is spending that is a result from income generated from direct and indirect economic impact. As local industries grew larger and household income increased, they would spend their incomes in the community. As a result, it is an induced economic impact because there is the result of a ripple effect through the entire community. Okay, next, I will explain further on how we measure economic impact. It is typically measured using 4 metrics, which are employment, household earnings, economic outputs, and regional value added. In the part of employment, we can compute the value of jobs created as a result of a certain project. Aside from that, we need to figure out how many jobs might be caused as a result of those projects. Some projects will have both positive and negative job effects. For example, building a new shopping complex will create a new job opportunities for hundreds and thousands of people. However, this may take business away from other shops around the area of the shopping complex and may force them to close down. Thus, if the employment rate increase, we can conclude that the current economy is in good condition. The household income or pay from a job comes next. Even when there are more jobs, a company's contribution to the economy may not be positive if it pays less than the minimum wage. However, if the project increases the region's average income, it will have a positive impact on the household income and the economy as a whole. The third one is by measuring the economic output. It is the total amount of sales made of the value of goods and services created in the activity under analysis. Economic output represents the money spent to purchase all of the inputs to a product as well as the money received when the product is sold. This measure is a duplicative total because the value of inputs are counted multiple times when those products are used in the production of other goods and services. Regional value added is the final one. It is described as a comprehensive advantage to the entire economy. As an example, supposedly a firm decides to construct a hospital in a city where none previously existed. In terms of healthcare and job opportunities, there would be value added in the city and also in the economy. Now, I will pass it on to the next presenter to explain the economic impact on tourism. Thank you.
Okay, thank you Hakim for the great explanation. Okay, allow me to tell you more about the economic part. On this slide, we'll give you the explanation of economic impact of tourism industry. As we all know and aware, the tourism industry in every country in the world has generated substantial economic benefits to neither host country or tourist home countries. This massive economic development, however, bring along the positive and negative impacts. Okay, as you can see, the left box is the positive impact and the right box is the negative impact. Okay, let me explain on the positive impact first. The first positive impact is the foreign exchange. With the increase in the number of with the increase in the number of tourists visiting in the country, tourism has become one of the 5 export categories where it becomes the main resources of foreign exchange earning for at least 38 of a country. The second positive impact is the infrastructure development. Tourism makes development infrastructure because the chance by the tourism give the opportunity for business all around the world to run their business. For example, we can see there are a lot of hotels built at the tourism locations. Okay, next, the negative impact. The first negative impact is the increase in the price. There will be an increase in the demand of basic services and goods from the tourists that will cost high price. It will indirect affect the domestic tourists whose their income are not increased proportionally. For example, the food domestic tourists whose their incomes are low might be affected because the food served at the hotel might be cheap for the foreign tourists but expensive for the local tourists due to the higher value of the currency. The second negative impact is the economic dependence of local community on tourism, where when there is diversification in an economy of a country, it shows sign of a healthy company. But in a situation where a country become for economy survival upon just one industry, it will cause a major stress towards the industry. That is all impact of tourism. Okay, let's move to the next part. The next part is about the economic impact of COVID-19 pandemic. In 2019, as we all know, the world faced with one of the worst economic impacts because of the pandemic. It has impacted society in many ways, especially for the economy part. Due to lockdown, various industries such as manufacturing have experienced the most severe financial problem, to the point some of the industry needs to shut down their business. The cash flow of an organization is very low, which leads to poor revenue growth in the economy. So now I will give a brief explanation on the positive impact and the negative impact of COVID-19 towards economy. The first one is increasing of the first positive impact is increasing of e-hailing industry. Since lockdown has been enforced across the country, the service mainly food delivery has experienced an outrageous demand from time to time as people's movement are limited since they want to avoid the COVID-19 virus. They had to use these services while the other industry are having a bad time. E-hailing industry continuously grows as many organizations such as Grab, Foodpanda, Lalamove, Bungkus and so on see this is an opportunity to expand their business. The second positive impact is the positive trend in the global market for medical industry has been greatly increasing to support the need for society. For example, rubber gloves, hand sanitizer, and face masks. Since most of those items have become the essential needs for everyone. For instance, Malaysia is the world's largest exporter of rubber gloves, that contributing 63% of global supply. Okay, now we move to the next part, which is the negative impact. The first impact is the increasing of unemployment rate. Some of the company had no choice, but they had to reduce the number of their workers since the lockdown restricts some of business to run their business. The employee had to reduce their costs, so they had to let go some of their workers. The unemployment rate in 2019 is 3.3%, while in 2020 it decreased to 3.2%. However, the unemployment rate continued increasing until May 2020. It reached 5.3%. This unemployment rate is not good for economy. The second impact is the foreign exchange rate. One of the fundamental roots in the country's level of trade has to be foreign exchange rate. In March 2018, the foreign exchange for Malaysia is RM 4.08 to 1 USD. But in 1 July 2020, it became 4.26 to 1 USD. This shows that the Malaysian value is decreasing, which is not good for economic health. Okay, let's move to the next part. Okay, that is all about the economic impact. Now, let's move to the social impact. Social impact, it can be stated as any positive or significant changes that can address or solve the social injustice and challenges that are happening in society. Any organization or business can help make these changes through deliberate and cautious activities or efforts in their administration and operation, which can provide the impacts to the society, especially to the customer. Okay, that is all about what is social impacts. Now I will pass to the next presenter to explain more about on social impact.
Hi and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Zulkaidir and I will proceed this discussion further. After hearing the definition of social impact that has Firdaus explained, so we might wonder what is the element in measuring this social impact, right? So, based on this logic model, it typically has 5 critical elements, which are input, activities, or we can call it as a process, outputs, outcomes, and lastly is impact. Without further ado, let me explain each of these terms first. Input. Input is included both the resources that are available and the constraint that an organization faces. Second one is activities. Activities are what the organization does with the input and the steps to be taken to achieve the desired impact. Third is output. It represents the general result of the organization activities. Next term is outcomes. Outcomes are the intermediate effect on the target population that are necessary to achieve and desired impact goals. They may include the systematic and the fundamental progress on the meeting social objective. And the last one is impact. Impact is the ultimate goals of the social purpose organization. So all of these 5 terms have a relationship between each other. These 5 elements describes the sequence of activities that are expected to create and to change and desired result. In other words, it describes how the plan works in the input and activities is expected to lead to the internal result in output, outcome and the impact. So, let us look at the example on how we apply this element in measuring this social impact. As for the first term is input. As I said just now, it is the resources that are available, right? So, for this illustration, we may look at the property and rental sector. So, there is one setup company that has everything: businesses, management, funding and so on. So all of these we can call it as their input for their company. Next, the activities. Well, what the company does with their input that they have, from this illustration, we can see that this company has provided a selected single parent family application with a 3-year leasing agreement. Next is the output of the activities. We can see that there is a number of 130 family household of single parent benefited with this program, and there is also 40 individual of landlord benefited also from this progress. As the outcome, the rental tailored family which ran in the range of 5k ringgit Malaysia to 7k ringgit Malaysia per month, and the tenant also received a training and skills upgraded to allow their career and the social mobility. And from those elements, finally it gives an impact, especially to those who rent that property, such as integrated new immigrant, society create full facilities and security to society. Okay, this is how the element of measuring social impact was applied in this organization. Now, let's us look at the next important thing that I wanted to share to you guys. So now, everyone know the basic about social impact. Of course, right now, this information that required leave you with a question on how to measure social impact in a company and use it for the benefit of the organization. So here's a step-by-step that guide for measuring social impact effectively. The first step is start with a realistic reformation model. Reformation model is the first thing that an organization needs to work on to bring the social impact into a clear perspective. This model should include a company's goal and objective regarding one or multiple social issues it intends to tackle. Once an organization has devised a proper information plan or theory of change to take social issues through their activities, it is time for the next step. Now, the company has to choose with the social impact metric that they should work with to bring the desired result. Companies can either choose their set of metric from social impact program provider or simply decide to work on the important one to their ultimate goals. Usually, these are the ones that have the produce reach to their target impact and define their success rates correctly in the respective field. And after companies are seen in formulating comprehensive theory and change and identifying its selling performance indicator, the next crucial step is to collect data accordingly. The process which companies collect and analyze their data plays a vital role in improving their social impact program in the future. The correlation of data will have conclude in which group policies serve better. And this way the organization can also choose to maintain the policy or certain impact group and devise a new strategy to target other impact group in future. As for the step 4, after the company has collected data on the specific performance indicator, they should copy all the relevant information and evaluate the result for the users of basis framework to review. Such impact data include to listing out the key event and the achievement. Specify the improvement and use new strategy introduced in the reporting period. The input metric used and maybe something that related. Next is the 5th step is a crucial aspect on how to measure social impact is to present it effectively to the masses. A company need to create and publish a comprehensive impact report which include the completion regarding social impact. It should also cover the quantitative internal and external data about its effect on the target communities, and to maintain transparency, it is good to conclude both negative and positive outcome in the impact report. Finally, the lastly step, the step 6 is to claim your social impact after they have complete and accurately social impact report. They can use their measurement to claim their social impact rightfully. So that's all from me about the step to measure the social impact. I will pass to Muhammad Hazim, and we shall come to the next point of our discussion.
Thank you, Zul. And now I will present to you about pros and cons of social impact. Pros of social impact. It helps better understanding and target your social work. Social impact help organization to plan better and implement with more effectively and successfully by bringing initiative to scale. Next, attracting investor and retaining investor confidence. If social investment is to become as important as financial return, the measurement of social impact must be comparably easy to understand and communicate. Lastly, tendering for public sector contract or selling goods and services. Social enterprise must be able to advertise their business in a way that is quickly and easily intelligible to Public Service Commissioner and consumer life. Moving on, the cons of social impact. First of all, global warming will become uncontrollable. This will result in the ice in the Arctic to melt as the world become hotter. The sea level will rise as an impact of the ice melting, thus affecting the country around the world with flood and maybe a big tsunami. Next point is wildlife will lose their habitats. This will happen if we ignore and not taking any action against illegal logging activities, and also we need to protect the cleanliness of the river from any unfiltered chemical which is a wastage of the factory. The last point is the world will face food crisis as the wildlife can survive, such as excessive fishing will make the fish go extinct in the long run. Sustainable Development Goals, or as we all know as SDG, this is the agenda of 2030 for sustainable development. It is adopted by all United Nations member states in 2015. It provides a shared blueprint for peace and prosperity for people and the planet, now and into the future. Now, many organizations, including business organizations, support SDG and write it in sustainability report. For example, such as Shell, GHL System, Deloitte, and Azendra. Here are 17 goals of SDG. For example, end poverty in all its form everywhere. Next, end hunger, achieve food security and improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. Next, ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. And ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. And Azendra. The example of SDG being implemented by GHL system under SDG 8, which is establish labor and human rights and the gender diversity policy. GHL system, company guidelines and measures for flexible work arrangement. Next, under SDG 13, GHL, which is transition to cloud computing to reduce operational carbon footprint. The installation of office solar panels for renewable energy generation. Next, under SDG 16, GHL has made an adoption of numerous ethics and integrity policies such as the anti-money laundering policy, anti-bribery and corruption policy, and also whistleblowing policy. Okay, and now we will move forward into the importance of economic and social impact. First of all, it is to sustain in business orientation. As we all know, companies shows stakeholders that their activities benefit the economies and societies in which they operate. It will help them better understand if they are fulfilling their commitment and stakeholder expectation. Next, improving the business enabling environment. It is a way for companies to show policymakers how their business activity contributing to public policy goals. And lastly, product and service innovation. It will help companies better understand the needs, aspirations, resources, and incentive of their customer, enabling them to develop new product and services and improve existing offerings. Now we will move to the last part of this presentation, which is the conclusion. In conclusion, the economic and social impact taken by organization affects individuals, organization, and societies. Companies need to design their business activities that will benefit the environment. Companies also should be responsible by not polluting the environment, as there are many cases that shows that usually the one who make environmental issues are the irresponsible companies. Serious action must also be taken to the company which are being irresponsible towards the environment. That is all from us. Thank you for listening and have a great day.